Good afternoon. Today's class we are going to learn ratio analysis. So, what is ratio analysis? Analysis is a method or process by which the relationship of items or groups of items in the financial statements are computed and presented. Is an important tool of financial analysis is used to interpret the financial statement so that the strengths and weakness of a firm, its historical performance and current financial condition can be determined. Ratio, a mathematical yardstick that measures the relationship between two figures or group of figures which are related to each other and are mutually interdependent. It can be expressed as a pure ratio percentage or as a rate. Words of caution. A ratio is an end in itself. They are only a means to get to know the financial position of all enterprise. Computing ratios does not add any information to the available figures. It only reveals the relationship in a more meaningful way so as to enable us to draw conclusions therefrom. Next, utility of ratios. Accounting ratios are very useful in assessing the financial position and profitability of an enterprise. However, its utility lies in comparison of the ratios. Utility of ratios. Comparison may be in any one of the following forms for the same enterprise over a number of years, for two enterprises in the same industry, for one enterprise against the industry as a whole, for one enterprise against a predetermined standard, for intersegment comparison within the same organization. Classification of ratios. Ratios can be broadly classified into four groups, namely liquid ratios, capital structure, leverage ratios, profitability ratios, activity ratios. Again, classification of ratios are in four types: liquidity ratios, capital structure, profitability, activity ratios. So, first, liquidity ratios. These ratios analyze the short term financial position of a firm and indicate the ability of the firm to meet its short term commitments, current liabilities out of its short term resources. These are current assets. These are also known as solvency ratios. The ratios which indicate the liquidity of a firm are current ratio and liquidity ratio or quick ratio or asset test ratio. So now current assets. What is current assets? Current assets includes inventories of raw material, WIP, finished goods, stores and spares, sundry debtors and receivables, short-term loans, deposits and advances, cash in hand and bank, prepaid expenses, incomes receivables and marketable investments and short-term securities. Now current liabilities. Current liabilities includes sundry creditors, bills payable, outstanding expenses, unclaimed dividend, advances received, incomes received in advance, provision for taxation, proposed dividend, installments of loans payable within 12 months, bank overdraft and cash credit. Now quick ratio or asset test ratio. So this is the ratio between quick current assets and current liabilities. So alternatively quick liabilities. It is calculated by dividing quick current assets by current liabilities. Quick current liabilities. Quick ratio is equal to quick assets divided by current liabilities. Where quick liabilities. Again quick ratio is equal to quick assets is equal to quick liabilities or current liabilities. Now quick assets and quick liabilities. So what is quick assets? Quick assets are current assets as treated earlier. So less prepaid expenses and inventory. So current liabilities, current assets minus prepaid expenses and inventories, that is equal to quick assets. So quick assets is equal to current assets minus inventories and prepaid expenses. So we will get our quick assets. Now quick liabilities. Quick liabilities are current liabilities less bank overdraft and incomes received in an advance. Capital structure. and leverage ratios. These ratios indicate the long-term solvency of a firm and indicate the ability of the firm to meet this long-term commitment with respect to repayment of principal and maturity are in predetermined installments and due dates and periodic payment of interest during the period of the time. Capital structure or leverage ratios. The different ratios are debt equity ratio, proprietary ratio, debt to total capital ratio, interest coverage ratio, and debt service coverage ratio. Now, debt equity ratio. What is debt equity ratio? This ratio indicates the relative proportion of debt and equity in financing the assets of the firm. It is calculated by dividing long-term debt by shareholders' funds. So, debt equity ratio is equal to long-term debt by shareholder funds, where generally financial institutions favor a ratio of 2:1. So, however, this standard should be applied having regard to size and type, nature of business, and the degrees of risk involved. Long-term funds. What is long-term funds? Long-term funds are long-term loans, whether secured or unsecured, like debentures, bonds, loans from financial institutions, etc. Shareholders' funds are equity share capital plus preference share capital plus reserve and surplus minus fictitious assets. For example, preliminary expenses and past accumulated losses, discount and issue of shares, etc. So, shareholder funds are equity share capital plus preference share capital plus reserve and surplus minus fictitious assets. Now, proprietary ratio. This ratio indicates the general financial strength of the firm and the long-term solvency of the business. This ratio is calculated by dividing proprietary funds by total funds. Proprietary ratio is equal to proprietary funds divided by total funds or total assets, where as a rough guide of 60 to 75% proprietary ratio is advisable. Proprietors' funds are same as explained in shareholder funds. Total funds are all fixed assets and all current assets. Alternatively, it can be calculated as proprietors' funds plus long-term funds plus current liabilities. So, proprietary funds are same as explained in shareholder funds. Total funds are all fixed assets and all current assets. Alternatively, it can be calculated as proprietors' funds plus long-term funds plus current liabilities. Now, debt to total capital ratio. In this ratio, the outside liabilities are related to the total capitalization of the firm. Indicates what proportion of the permanent capital of the firm is in the form of long-term debt. So, debt to total capital ratio is equal to long-term debt is equal to term debt. Interest coverage ratio. This ratio measures the debt servicing capacity of a firm insofar as the fixed interest on long-term loan is concerned. It shows how many times the interest charges are covered by EBIT, out of which they will be paid. Interest coverage ratio is equal to EBIT by interest. A ratio of 6 to 7 times is considered satisfactory. Higher the ratio, greater the ability of the firm to pay interest out of its profits. But too high a ratio may imply lesser use of debt and or very efficient operations. Debt service coverage ratio. This is a more comprehensive measure to compute the debt servicing capacity of a firm. It shows how many times the total debt service obligations consisting of interest and repayment of principal in installments are covered by the total operating funds after payment of debt. Debt service coverage ratio is equal to EAT plus interest plus depreciation plus other non-minus cash expenditures divided by interest plus principal installment. EAT is equal to earning after tax. Profitability ratios. These ratios measure the operating efficiency of the firm and its ability to ensure adequate returns to its shareholders. The profitability of a firm can be measured by its profitability ratios. Further, the profitability ratios can be determined in relation to sales and in relation to investment. Profitability ratios. Profitability ratios in relation to sales. Gross profit margin, net profit margin, and expenses in ratio. Profitability ratios. Profitability ratios in relation to investments, return on assets, return on capital employed, return on shareholders, earning per share, dividend payout ratio, price earning ratio. So profitability ratios are return on asset, return on capital employed, return on shareholders equity, earning per share, dividend per share, dividend payout ratio, price earning ratio. Gross profit margin. This ratio is calculated by dividing gross profit by sales. It is expressed as a percentage. Gross profit is the result of relationship between prices, sales volume and cost. Gross profit margin is equal to gross profit divided by net sales into 100. Gross profit margin. A firm should have a reasonable gross profit margin to ensure coverage of its operating expenses and ensure adequate return to the owner of the business, that is, the shareholders. To judge whether the ratio is satisfactory or not, it should be compared with the firm's past ratios or with the ratio of similar firms in the same industry or with the industry average. Net profit margin. This ratio is calculated by dividing net profit by sales. It is expressed as a percentage. This ratio is indicative of the firm's ability to leave a margin of reasonable compensation to the owners for providing capital after meeting the cost of production, operating charges, and the cost of borrowed funds. Net profit margin is equal to net profit after interest and tax into 100 divided by sales. Net profit after interest and tax divided by net sales into 100. Net profit margin. Another variant of net profit margin is operating profit margin, which is calculated as operating profit margin is equal to net profit before interest and tax divided by net sales into 100. Higher the ratio, greater is the capacity of the firm to withstand adverse economic conditions and vice versa. So expenses ratio. These ratios are calculated by dividing various expenses by the sales. The variance of expenses ratios are material consumed ratio is equal to material consumed divided by net sales into 100. Manufacturing expenses ratio is divided by net sales into 100. Administration expenses ratio is equal to administration expenses divided by net sales into 100. Selling expenses ratio is equal to selling expenses divided by net sales into 100. Operating ratio, cost of goods sold plus operating expenses divided by net sales into 100. Financial expenses ratio, financial expenses divided by net sales into 100. Now expenses ratio. The expenses ratios should be compared over a period of the time with the industry average as well as with the ratios of firms of similar type. A low expenses ratio is favorable. The implication of a high ratio is that only a small percentage share of sales is available for meeting financial liabilities like interest, tax, dividends, etc. Return on assets. This ratio measures the profitability of the local funds of a firm. It measures the relationship between net profits and total assets. The objective is to find out how efficiently the total assets have been used by the management. Return on assets. Net profit after taxes plus interest divided by total assets into 100. Total assets exclude fictitious assets, as the total assets at the beginning of the year and end of the year may not be the same. Average total assets may be used as the denominator. Return on capital employed. This ratio measures the relationship between net profit and capital employed. It indicates how efficiently the long-term funds of owners and creditors are being used. Return on capital employed. Net profit after taxes plus interest divided by capital employed into 100. Capital employed denotes shareholder funds and long-term borrowings. To have a fair representation of the capital employed, average capital employed may be used as the denominator. Now return on shareholders' equity. This ratio measures the relationship of profits to owners' fund. Shareholders fall into two groups, that is preference shareholders and equity shareholders. So the variance of return on shareholders' equity etc. Return on total shareholders' equity is equal to net profit after tax divided by total shareholders' equity into 100. Total shareholders' equity includes preference share capital plus equity share capital plus reserves and surplus less accumulated losses and fictitious assets. To have a fair representation of the total shareholder funds, average total shareholder funds may be used as the denominator. Return on ordinary shareholders' equity is equal to net profit after tax minus preference dividend divided by ordinary shareholders equity or net into 100. Ordinary shareholders equity or net worth includes equity share capital plus reserves and surplus minus fictitious assets. Earning per share EPS. This ratio measures the profit available to the equity shareholders on a per share basis. This ratio is calculated by dividing net profit available to equity shareholders by the number of equity shares. Earning per share is equal to net profit after tax minus preferred dividend divided by number of equity shares. Dividend per share DPT. This ratio shows the dividend paid to the shareholders on a per share basis. This is the better indicator than the EPS as it shows the amount of dividend received by the ordinary shareholders, while EPS merely shows theoretically how much belongs to the ordinary shareholders. Dividend per share is equal to dividend paid to ordinary shareholders divided by number of equity shares. Now dividend payout ratio. This ratio measures the relationship between the earnings belongings to ordinary shareholders and the dividend paid to them. Dividend payout ratio. Total dividend paid to ordinary shareholders divided by net profit after tax minus preferred dividend into 100, or dividend payout ratio is equal to dividend per share divided by earning per share into 100. Price earning ratio. This ratio is computed by dividing the market price of the shares by the earning per share. It measures the expectations of the investors and market appraisal of the performance of the firm. Price earning ratio is equal to market price per share divided by earning per share. Activity ratios. These ratios are also called efficiency ratios, asset utilization ratios, or turnover ratios. These ratios shows the relationship between sales and various assets of a firm. The various ratios under this group are inventory or stock turnover ratio, debtors turnover ratio and average collection, assets turnover ratio, creditors turnover ratio and average credit period, inventory stock turnover ratio. So inventory stock turnover ratio is equal to cost of goods sold divided by average stock. Average stock can be calculated as opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2. And next, alternatively, inventory turnover ratio is equal to sales divided by closing inventory. Now inventory stock turnover ratio. A firm should have neither too high or not too low inventory turnover ratio. Too high a ratio may indicate very low level of inventory and a danger of beginning out of stock and incurring high stock out cost. On the contrary, too low a ratio is indicative of excessive inventory entailing excessive carrying cost. Debtors turnover ratio and average collection period. This ratio is a test of the liquidity of debtors of a firm. It shows the relationship between credit also and debtors. Debtors turnover ratio is equal to credit sales divided by average debtors and bills receivable. Average collection period is equal to months, days in the year or debtors turnover. Debtors inventory turnover ratio, average collection period. Assets turnover ratio. Here, total assets turnover ratio, fixed assets turnover ratio, capital turnover ratio, working capital turnover ratio.